What branch of service were you in? What was your rank?
Okay, I was in the U.S. Marine Corps, and my rank was Lance Corporal. Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey, basically, but originally was born and raised in Georgia.
How'd you get in the service? Were you enlisted or were you drafted?
I was going to be drafted. At that time, the draft was still on. So I decided to beat the draft by maybe a week or so, and I decided to make my own choice instead of being drafted to the Army. So I had a choice when I did go in, so I volunteered, and I ended up taking my basic in Paris Island.
So what did you do once you were,
what was my job?
Yes, sir.
My job was, which is called 0311, that's infantry. And I was a first, during training, I was an automatic rifleman. And then after my full training there, I got promoted from PFC to Lance Corporal. And then I became fire team leader. And I was a fire team leader from the time I hit Vietnam to the time I left.
What was it like when you told your family you were going to Vietnam?
They really kind of like I guess they were more saying this was what you signed up for, and this is what's going to happen. You're going to end up going to the war, and it wasn't too much of a not go or try to get me out of it. It was just saying do your best and may God bless you, that type of thing. Because my father, his youngest brother, was in World War II in the Army. So he knew somewhat it was going into the military. But he was a sick man at the time when I went in. Yeah, so, and he had, just before John F. Kennedy was assassinated, he was diagnosed with cancer. So from that time on until my time out, he was, had to up and down with cancer. So basically, he wasn't too much into my life as far as going out and having a beer or nothing like that with me, So, and also, when I had an older brother who was married, and that at that time, you could not, as they say, some of the boys did go AWOL to Canada and stuff like that, but he was too old to be drafted, So other than that, that was my family, the type of attitude, do what you was told and try to be a good Marine, right?
What was it like when you arrived in country in Vietnam? What was that first day like when you
Okay.
got off the plane or got off the boat?
Oh, got off the ship.
Off the ship.
Navy ship, yeah. I went on the USS Okinawa, not Okinawa, but start with an L. I can't call it right now. But it was kind of very scary when we approached the shores of Vietnam, because all we could see is smoke from the ship. And, when you see smoke, you figure, oh, something bad is happening, So we got there a day earlier than what they had timed us for the disembark. And in the meantime, the area where they was disembarking was very busy, so they could not unload us at the time. So we went back out to sea for safety-wise, and we disembarked the next morning. And it was a administrative landing, and so when we did land, they didn't put us into combat right away. They put us in a soccer field, and they briefed us of what was going to be our next our next job. So in the meantime, they took us out of the soccer field and put us up on a hill called 721 in Da Nang for safety wise, and the Navy and the Seabees had a road up that way, so we went up there just to get ourselves straightened out again, you know. And I think it was about the 10th of September, they transferred us because that was the Marine Corps, that was part of their way of transferring you from one division to the next division, which is the 1st and 3rd Marine was like that cycle. And we got transferred after I got to Vietnam from the 1st Marine Division to the 3rd Marine Division. And it was the 9th Marine Regiment which we replaced. And they had got there during the summer months, like from, I think it was the middle of May or either early June in Da Nang. And the Marines' job was to guard the base, make sure that any Viet Cong, anyone slip in and throw sabotage into the planes, you know. So, but after we replaced them, the original 9th Marine fellows, they regrouped and brought them back to Okinawa. And we was the new group replacing them, so now we was known as the 9th Marine, or either the Walking Dead. So, and the reason that we got that name was because they suffered a lot of casualties. And we was up for a presidential citation, but I think we got taken off the list because that was another, it was a South Vietnamese Army troops was given that valor. So I think later on, President Johnson gave us that back after I got out. But as far as I know is concerned, it was, that's what I heard. It wasn't completely sure, you know, yeah.
What were some of the good days that you had over there? What were some of those?
The good days? All right, good days was when we got a chance to take some unscheduled R&R, and my platoon was given 1 week of rest and relaxation, and then we got a chance to go on Liberty. I went down Liberty in Da Nang and saw some of the Vietnamese pulling. There was a one cot type thing. You get on that, and then instead of a horse pulling the cart, the men would be pulling the cart. So we went downtown Da Nang, and we had a day of fun a little bit. And then the next, right after that, when the Liberty was over with, we got called to go into Da Nang, and we had to guard the Navy headquarters building in Da Nang. And they put us on top of the roof like this, like the Secret Service does when the president come around. We was up there for about three days, I think, 3 or 4 days. And the reason we was up there because it was the rumors had been going around there was going to be a suicide squad coming up, and they was going to try to go break into the headquarters or either set it afire, whatever.
What were some of the days like that weren't always so fun out there?
No, it was not fun, and the rough part was the weather. It was the constantly raining, and then right after rain, it would get humid. Temperatures sometime when the sun came out was 110 to 120, and you'd be sweating. And just about every man in my platoon lost weight because you had to sweat a whole lot. Our body's almost 80%, 85% water. So we guys were losing weight, and it was typical Marines that love to complain and says, if you didn't complain, you weren't a good Marine, So, but anyway, the most part that I really was taking patrols inside in the rice field. That was the tough part because we had to walk in that water. If you could find a dry spot, it was only 10 or 15 feet dry. then you're right back into the water, walking in the water. And so it was more of a, for all of us guys, including some of the salts that we had, it was something that they had never experienced before, you know, since we was in combat for the first time. Yeah. So, but it was a time when you and your buddies that you had trained with, you were more of a brothers. You was brothers. There was no. We even stopped calling each other by name. We was calling each other by nickname, because it was more of a, you feel good by somebody joking with you. You know, you didn't really worry about their ranks. You was, if you was nicknamed Bob or whatever, that's what you answered by, you know. So we really was close. And
what was your name?
They called me Preacher. And it got to the point where they all thought that I was trying to be, speak from the Bible. I said, no, that had nothing to do with me. I'm calling me Preacher. I said it was the way I act from boot camp. They thought I was the guys that walked around, you know, trying to be nice. No, I said, I'm not nice. I said, sometimes you can get on my nerves and I'll tell you who I am, you know, and what I mean, you know. So they nicknamed me Preacher, and then they stayed with me. Yeah, so it was okay with me, you know.
Mr. Nice Guy carrying his automatic rifle.
That's right, carrying an automatic rifle, and it just say, instead of just shooting, but shoot straight. Make sure you shoot straight instead of just having bullets going every which way, you know. So, but you know, to make my time there worthwhile, I had to remember that what I was doing at the time before I went in service, and I had a job at the time. I wasn't, you know, just right out of school. I had been out of school 2 years. So when the draft came by, I decided to say, okay, let's beat the draft and go on and do what I have to do. And I selected the Corps, as I was telling you before. And I met some very good people. I have no regrets of my time in the Corps.
That was going to be my next question. Is tell me a little bit about some of the guys that really stand out in your head from your group.
Okay. Well, I had my regular guys that was in my platoon in the barracks, but one that stands out is one of the lieutenants we had. He had been an enlisted man before, and he went to officer candidate school, and you know, he got we call him, he got his gold on his collar. But when he got a chance to be, you know, been given his duties, he went from what they call the next highest type of rifle. He was in weapons. He was a weapon platoon officer. Then they transferred him to our unit, and his name was Lieutenant Levy. And we nicknamed him, as that was saying, he was Superman. We nicknamed him Superman because he didn't show the difference between the enlisted men and the officers. Before we left state, we would go jogging with him, or he would jog with us, the enlisted men, because he said I felt more comfortable with you guys than I have sometimes jogging with my own officers. So he was the most outstanding guy that I think they impressed me. And unfortunately, he did not make it back. Yeah, he was killed. And I had, since I had been promoted to Lance Corporal, I had two other people that was PFCs. They just out of boot camp. And one of the guys, the day we lost him, one of the PFCs, he cried practically half of the day. And we tried our best to console him, but everybody says, let him cry. At least he'll understand and get it out of his system. And we knew then that this was a tight group. For someone that just joined us only about a month earlier, before we went overseas, and he had got attached to the guy, because he says he don't act like some officers, they'll stand off from enlisted men, even though we respected him as a lieutenant, but he was one of our guys. Yeah.
He'll always still be Superman, though.
Yes, he'll always be Superman. Yeah.
What did you have any issues with race and segregation?
Segregation? No, I didn't. When I was in basic, I found out some of the sergeant that we had, they were saying some of them, as you would have to be real, some of the drill instructors sounded like the Southern men in the South, and they tried to treat us that way. But we found out later that this was a way of them getting authority, getting respect from us. So we had two Caucasian sergeants and one black fella in our platoon. But the most popular sergeant in that platoon was Sergeant Thomas, who was the black man, because we nicknamed him. We nicknamed him Peeping Tom, because the way he got that name, Peeping Tom, after inspection we had in the barracks, he would go behind our bunks, up and down the squad bay, checking on your rack, see if it was made up properly, So he would come out after he would inspect the beds and everything. He'd say, Private so-and-so, his bed now it's got to be redone, but he's not going to do it. We're going to stand back and let you all show him how to do it. So we had to take, say, basic training, the thing that they taught us, and turn around and take and show him how to do it, who have got the demerit, So that's what made it fun, and we called him Peeping Tom, and it was great. Yeah, so that was part of my time, basically being fun, in that way. But it's something that's gonna live with me the rest of my life, and my wife gets tired of me talking about it, but that's life, So.
Have you always been able to talk about it, or is it more recent?
Yes, I've always been able to talk about it, because just before I got out of the service, I came home for my dad. He passed right after I got home. He didn't live long after I got home. So while I was home, I took a volunteer myself to check out my own problems. I had a problem with my food digestion. I had heartburn after having a meal, and I checked into a Navy hospital. And when I checked into the Navy hospital, they kept me for the duration of my time in service. And so I was there 3 months, and they told me, you got time left, but we don't have orders for you to leave the hospital and go back to your regular duty station. So we're gonna send you home and await your orders from home. And those orders never came, because they said they lost my health record. They couldn't find my health record, so they could screen my present health versus their past. And while I was waiting, they said, well, we done searched for your health record, we can't find them, so we're going to have to discharge you. So I got out about 12 months early. Yeah.
What was your town like when you went home after
Vietnam?
How did they treat you?
How did people treat me then? I was mostly, I come out before the war really got hot, but I went back to school on the GI Bill, and during the schooling time, that's when I saw the difference. The student that I was with, some of them didn't want to have nothing to do with me, because the school, I was trying to say, take a college prep course, and during the college prep course, it was students who already had graduated from high school, but they wanted to up their grades, you know, so they could have a chance to get into college. And when I would tell them my past, some of them just turned their head and walked away. They didn't want to hear it. So I was kind of like shut down, as they were saying, you know. I had some friends in school, but it was 2 or 3, you know, friends and stuff like that when I went to school, back to school. And I went back to my old job that I had before I left and tried to continue my life after that. And it was grateful because I never had to wait on an unemployment line. So.
What's it mean to you when you see the wall now? When you go visit, have you visited the DC
DC
wall?
wall, yes, I have, yes.
What does that mean to you? I mean, obviously Superman's name, his
Yeah,
name's out there.
right.
What does it mean to you to see those fellow soldiers?
It means to me as far as that's human life. If a man's name is on the wall, that means he's not alive, but his demeanor in what he stood for is still living. And not only Lieutenant Levy, but there are other men that I had. Even one fellow was in boot camp with me that I know. He got killed the day after I got home. I know. I didn't know him until we was in boot camp, but come to find out he was only 17 miles from where I used to live. You know, I left Newark, New Jersey, and he was in Plainfield. So we was both close by, which is like from here maybe up to Wake Forest or something like that. Yeah. But for me to think about the lives of other people that did not make it back, I really think that America should think not once, not twice, but 100 times about the men and women that do not come back from war because their life has been taken. And I've had a chance to have a life. And so far, I think about them all the time. Yeah. And it's because life has a purpose. And when you have been able to at least try to live that purpose and had some success, it means a lot.